Hello, and welcome to week 12. We are so close to the end, and that's simultaneously amazing and probably a little bit terrifying. I don't know if it gives you any comfort, but if we were in class together on campus, week 12 would feel pretty much exactly the same. So I'm going to dive right into the things that you need to know this week to be as successful as possible. And I'm going to start by reminding you that the whole point of these videos is taking the place of classroom instruction. And so you actually need to watch the videos. I get the irony that I'm telling someone watching a video that they need to watch the videos. But in case you've skipped any of the others and today's your first one, go back and look at those other videos. And then also, you might pause the video now and grab a piece of paper and a pen because this classroom instruction is like traditional classroom instruction in that you're expected to know what it is I said. That sounds really strange, perhaps, but you want to take notes if you don't want to have to go watch the video over again in order to remember what it is you got from the video. None of this is so that I feel better. All of this is because the things I'm going to tell you, you actually need to know to be your most successful self in this class. So please watch the videos and please take notes. A couple of housekeeping things right off the bat. The first is if you get an email from me with a question mark at the beginning of the email, or sometimes, but not very frequently, at the end of the email after my name, I am so sorry. Our technology for the past 4 years has been such that Blackboard works in one particular browser and Outlook email works in another browser. And so if you don't switch browsers when you're going between Blackboard and email, your emails from Outlook, if you're not working on campus, randomly have these inserted question marks. It is so crazy annoying for someone who teaches English that every email I send out, I'm not able to control whether or not that question mark shows up at the beginning of your email. I have begged for control over this, for them to fix it. They tell me they can't. I have to believe them because I do not know as much about technology as any of them. And so I just want to apologize. I'm not being sarcastic. I haven't forgotten who I am in the midst of all this. The question marks are there and there's nothing I can do about it. And it's because I'm working remotely and not switching browsers every time I'm doing a different task. So I apologize. Another thing I'll apologize for not having any control over, and it is absolutely maddening to me, is the way that the Dropboxes are showing up in our Dropbox folder. All last week, every single day, in every single class, I went back every day and reordered them so that they were in numerical order. I have to give up. They do not remain that way, at least in my view. When I go in, there's 4, there's 2, there's 3. So I don't know what else to do about it. I have never had this experience with Blackboard in the past, and I've been teaching online for 17 years. I do not know why it's happening. I cannot get it to stop. And so I have resorted to simply putting in the numeral in the hopes that that makes it a little bit easier to find what you're looking for. Because you can look at the calendar and see numeral annotation 4, and you can go look for annotation 4, literally the 4 Dropbox. That's the best I can do, and I apologize. So, moving on. I have gotten a number of emails asking why your revision grades are not in. I completely get that everything feels very fraught right now. And please remember that I am putting priority on grading the new work coming in because it needs to be revised. And the revisions will be graded on the same timeline that I have always met, both on ground and online, which is within a week of submission. So emailing me a day and a half after you submit a revision is totally fine. But the answer you're going to get back is, I'm not putting my priority there. You'll have it back within a week, because it's more important for me to be giving feedback to, including late work, that stuff that will need to be revised. So thank you for your patience on that. I have changed up the homepage of our Blackboard shell. And I've added 2 things and removed a bunch of stuff that students rely on in ways that make them not able to actually do their best work. So I've removed all the stuff that's like, what's coming up next? Because really, you need to be relying on the calendar that the class has that tells you what to read and what tasks to do and what due dates you should follow, with the exception of revisions, because they are not required. And so all of that extraneous taskbar stuff is gone from the homepage now. And in its place is a link for you to be able to find resources if you can't figure out what you're looking at in Blackboard, and also a way for you to make an appointment with a writing tutor at the right place. And so those are right on the homepage because those are really vital information. When and if you use the Right Place tutors, please understand that you have seen the videos and have the knowledge that the citation guide on the library homepage is the one we are using as our guide. So if you go in and you don't tell them anything but I'm using APA, they're going to grab whatever book they have that's their standard and advise you in that direction. You know that our class is using a standard of the library homepage citation guide because it's the one we all have access to that we didn't have to buy a book for. So please, please, please let your tutor know what citation style you're using, but also what source we're using for that citation style so that they don't guide you incorrectly and then you get mad when it's your grade that suffers. So the final thing I would ask you to do this week is the hardest, and that is to keep in mind that although this is a horrible situation and almost every single one of you did not end up in an online class because you wanted to take an online class, every single person in the entire world right now is faced with frustrations and things they don't want and things they didn't sign up for that they have to deal with anyway. And we're all going to have some compassion with each other and with ourselves. And I focus on ourselves because I think that's the most important one. I'm getting a lot of emails from students who are angry and frustrated, and you're doing an amazing job of not being ugly to me as a result. At the same time, you're not being very easy on yourself to do things like take on a bunch of extra work. It's understandable in this situation to think, oh, I better protect myself by getting as many hours as I can. But if you were not working that kind of load while you were in on-ground classes, the worst thing you can do for your own success is to take on a bunch of extra work once all of your learning has shifted to a completely new environment. So please have some compassion for yourself. Please make choices that support you doing your best work. Because the reality is, none of your instructors can give you a passing grade because COVID-19 created a crisis. We are doing everything we can. We are removing every assignment we can remove. In my class, you have option to revise in a way that none of my students have ever had a chance to revise. They just got bad grades if they got bad grades. And so because they've done everything they can to make everything as lean as possible, there's no more wiggle room. You still have to do that minimum amount to get the credit for the class. This is easier, I think, for students who are in programs like nursing, for example, to understand. I have a lot of nursing students in my online class that chose to be an online class. And nursing students are in a situation, massage students are in a situation right now, culinary students are in a situation right now, where part of your degree, part of your being certified after your degree and being able to get a job requires hands-on work. No one is able to do hands-on work right now. And the state is not going to say, just don't worry about that because there was this crisis. The state is going to say, you don't graduate and or you don't get a certificate and or you're not going to be eligible for a job because you didn't get the hands-on training, even though the hands-on training isn't possible. So it's hard for those of us who are not in a situation like that to see that there are concrete things we're not in control of, that we don't want, that we don't have any choice but to live with. And so I would just remind you that you're in a situation you don't want, and things are happening that you don't want to live with, and they suck. And it's a really hard place to be emotionally. And you probably have a class load that you expected to look and feel a particular way, and everything is completely different now. And you didn't get a say about that. The one thing you do have control over is how much compassion you give yourself, what kind of choices you make that support you being able to live through this as easily as possible, and trying to avoid choices that are going to make it way harder on you. And that's things like taking on too much work, not being really honest with yourself if you're not able to do the work you're being asked to do right now. Because it's true, you didn't ask for an online schedule. And it's also true, you have a right to say, I can't do this right now because of everything else that's going on in my life. That won't be an easy choice because the repercussions of it are still yours to deal with. But there's no shame at all in saying, this isn't for me right now. And so please, please go easy on yourself. And thank you for being so patient and so kind with your faculty, or at least I'll say with me. I'm here if you need me. Please watch the videos before you email me, or expect an email that says, please watch the video. And let me know how I can help.